I'd like to call the Tuesday, December 13th, 2016 special call meeting to order. It's approximately 5:20 p.m. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Roth.
Here.
Councilman Burgess.
Here.
Councilman Shelley. Here. Councilman Maldonado. Here. Councilman Williams. Here. Vice Mayor Fairclough. Here. Mayor Porter.
Here.
There you go. You had it.
Tab 1, Mr. Manager.
Did you want
Mr.
to
Attorney.
An ordinance of the City of Homestead, Florida, amending Chapter 2 Administration of the City Code of Ordinances by amending Section 2-411.2 Cone of Silence, creating an exception from the Cone of Silence for contract negotiations conducted by city staff with proposers of public-private partnerships, providing for severability, conflicts, codification, and an effective date.
Mr. Manager, reports from staff.
Mayor, this in essence is we have a P3 proposals that staff has considered and has ranked. We have 3 solid proposals, and what we want to do is be able to negotiate, starting first with the first one to the second and the third. The current code of silence does not allow staff to have conversations with any of the proposers, so this change in the ordinance would allow staff to have discussions with the proposers so that we can bring back a negotiated contract to the council.
Questions from council, Mr. Williams?
Let me ask you a question. How is this handled with the bid protest that is currently on the projects? How will this affect that? Because I know this is going forward because of to be able to do this, but this came up because of the idea of what we just talked about. But how does this, when a person do a bid protest and your ability to negotiate, how does that work?
Council, we don't have a bid protest procedure in the city that relates to this type of procurement. So they're free to pursue whatever type of protest they want. I understand the letter came in today with some detail. I have not seen the letter, but this would not really relate to that. They're free to proceed in any way they'd like to, but it wouldn't interfere with this process.
Okay, maybe let me ask the question a different way then. If that is the case, and it will not interfere with this process, by us not having a policy on that, how is one ought to negotiate when you have somebody protesting part of what the process is? So how can the staff negotiate with somebody that is protesting the way the formality or the process or whatever they're protesting?
I think the intention of staff is to negotiate with the top-ranked firm, which is not the one that filed the bid protest.
Right, but then it also, from my understanding of this tab or this ordinance, that if the top rank is not suitable, then the second and then the third,
right,
in that order. But then if you have one that is protesting, how does one negotiate with that?
I would assume that if we got down to the third-ranked firm, which is the one that's protesting, that at that point they would withdraw their protest because now they're in #1 position and they wouldn't have any need to protest. I think their concern is with the process. I haven't read it, but I assume it's with the process or the procedures or some other aspect of the procurement. So if we got down to the point where we're actually negotiating with them, I assume they would withdraw their protest.
Okay, so what my understanding of it is then that this will be able to keep the silence on and give the staff ability to be able to talk to actually those that we're negotiating with, the #1 person, not #2 or 3. So they will eliminate one. If one does not work out, then they go to the next one, right?
Yes.
Yes, and it's not...
and so it may not be that they ever get to the second or the #3.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. And just by the way, it's not unique, the process that we're following. The process that we do with architects and engineers in the Florida statute has a very similar process where you rank them, you negotiate with the first one. If you're unsuccessful, you move to the second one. So this is patterned after that process.
Okay. So how have we handled protests in the past?
Well, it depends upon the context of the protest. If there's a protest procedure written into the RFP, or if it's covered by our code, we have our own bid protest procedure. But for this type of procurement, this is the first time we've done this type of procurement, and there is not a bid protest procedure. So I'd be happy to discuss with you privately how I would protest it if I was representing them, but there's not a city procedure for protesting it.
Well, perhaps maybe we need to look at one then. Not saying we will have these magnitudes of contracts like this again. I don't foresee this happening another 50, 60 years from now. But still, a policy by which we can handle those will be, I think, very...
On a prospective basis, the way to do that would be when we issue the RFP to include a bid protest procedure in the RFP documents, and that way there would be sort of a roadmap as to how somebody would protest.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you. Thank you,
Mr. Williams. Mr. Maldonado?
Thank you, Mayor. Just a question to the manager. In regards to this, where it says, where the manager and his designees are to negotiate in closed meetings with representative entities proposing a P3, is that going in order, or is that all the above? Are you going to be talking to all of them, or is it just, is there an order of how you're going to negotiate with them?
Well,
And it's just the question is, can you, it's not, from my understanding, it was like, from what Councilman Williams just said, and I could be wrong, help me out with this, is it just stating to speak with the top, or is it to talk to all of them?
And I agree with
The ability to just speak to them all.
I agree.
And I say that because I believe that the way you would work is to the best of the city, and so you would have the ability to speak to any of them if you'd have to.
what this does would give me the ability to talk to them all, and that's what I'm asking for permission. How we
Okay.
approach the negotiations, I'd rather not discuss
Perfect.
publicly.
That works for me. Thank you. That's it for me.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Williams?
Yeah, okay. But, okay, then I'm confused then, because my understanding of it is that it gives you the ability to talk to all three, but what I heard prior to your comment to Councilman Maldonado was that you only talk to the first one, and if you can't reach a perspective deal with that, then you would go to number two. This doesn't, so I'm confused now.
In terms of negotiating, we're going to negotiate with the first round. On the other hand, I'm not precluding the idea of having conversations with the other two. Some have procedural questions, some have the constraint that this cone of silence has placed on us. There's certain parties and partners in these deals that have not, they've had questions that, we haven't really been able to address. There's been some restraint on us in terms of having conversations. So what we have here is we have a bunch of people that would like to do some really great things in the downtown, and we really don't want to lose anybody here. We want to just make sure that we keep everybody comfortable and everybody understands what we're doing here, which is we want a great project for the downtown. There was a ranking. We're going to deal with the order, but on the other hand, we'd like to have conversations. And that's a little different than negotiating. And don't forget that the worst case scenario here is one of the movie theater partners just walks out because we can't talk to them and they don't understand what's going on. And then what do we have? Right?
Right. Well, my idea of understanding of it is that I was assuming that it will be to be able to have conversation with all three, or somehow in your negotiation that and what I liked, when will council have the opportunity to be able to, never mind, strike that, because I know all of the ratings are already listed online, am I right? So we can, we've already seen that part of some of the questions on there, but that's neither here nor there. But how do we move forward in your negotiations, George? And I'm not trying to get you to tell us what your negotiations are, but is there an ability to be able to include not just one, but two or three, all three? I'm just asking for all purposes going forward.
I'm not sure I understand the question.
Is there certain parts of the project could be split up, is what I'm asking you. Can certain parts of the project in your negotiation be split up in order to make everybody happy, as you would say.
My understanding is that we have three proposals. We have to take the proposals
Hypothetically speaking.
at face value, and that we're going to negotiate with the first rank one. That being said, I see some benefit to the city, if need be, to have conversations with the others, if need be. That being said, I don't know how the negotiations will go with the first ranked, and so we would like to keep our options open. And, that's why I think it's best to just have the ability to talk to people if we need to. And then when we bring back a contract, a recommendation for a contract, the council will have the opportunity to weigh in, vote yes, vote no, and give us a different direction if they don't like what we've negotiated.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions? Vice Mayor?
Yes. Not necessarily a question, just a comment. And great comment, Councilman Williams. I know you can't answer this, but I kind of wanted to know the angle of the negotiation and what would be the approach with negotiating with Axiom. I don't want to lose Showbiz Cinema, but I think that we can be very creative with ensuring that we don't lose them, because I am all for our local people here and making sure that we stimulate our economy here and not just using developers and companies principally outside of not just our community but our state. So when you have that conversations with them, and as smart as you are, I know you can get very creative with that to ensure that we reach a happy medium and that we can at least use some of our local people here.
I understand.
Any other questions, comments? This modification to the cone of silence only applies to manager and staff, correct?
Correct.
So in essence, the rest of the lobbying effort should not deal with us as elected body.
Correct. And I would certainly encourage you all, if somebody approaches you, to remind them that the cone of silence is still in effect.
Right. Well, I just wanted to make sure that we all understood that we're still, under the cone of silence as elected officials, because we're the final policymakers at the end of the day. But I agree that you need to have some flexibility to negotiate and pick and choose the best deal, price for the city. And this is one of the things that, to me, has always been a hindrance in the cone of silence, because you can't communicate and work on behalf of the city's overall responsibility to the taxpayer. So I think this is a good change, and I think the flexibility that's written in here, entities, is multiple. Doesn't lock you into one entity. So you can work through pros and cons of all programs that possibly could be on the table. So I think it's a good, Richard, I don't know who crafted this, but I think it's a good addition, Matt, a good addition to the cone of silence. Because hopefully, as we move forward, we have more opportunities with P3s to come before us in that public-private partnership, and we can knock some of these bugs out in this particular process. So, as we have so many other street and road projects that are going to come forward, hopefully this P3 works for us very well. Okay, so are there any other final questions or comments? Do we need anything else, Mr. Attorney? Is there a motion to move forward with this modification to the ordinance on the cone of silence? Moved and seconded. Any final comments or questions? Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Mr. Williams.
This is an ordinance change, so it requires two readings.
Not in a special call, right? It does require two?
This is the first
First
reading.
reading.
The next reading will be next week at the council meeting,
Yes.
right? Okay. All right.
You, sir, Ms. Vice Mayor?
Yes. Do we have, is there a proposed timeline, time frame, if this is proposed on second reading, so that we can have a frame of reference as far as how long this could potentially take to negotiate?
There's a few pieces to this puzzle. One is, how long does it take to have a meeting of the minds? The second piece is, we're flying to Atlanta tonight to meet with the FTA to become the recipient. So how long that process takes as well. Those two kind of have to meet at the same time. So we're somewhat at the mercy of the federal government if we're going to use those funds.
So basically, you'll have a better answer after the meeting tomorrow?
I'm hoping so.
Better than tonight?
Well, maybe, maybe not. You've spoken to the federal government before, so.
That's correct. Anything else, Vice Mayor?
No, thank you.
Mr. Williams?
Okay, last question or comment. So you're saying that you won't be able to negotiate with the firms until you have an answer from the federal government?
No, I think we'll be able to
That's
negotiate.
what I'm trying to figure out from
Whether-
the Vice
whe-
Mayor, what her question is,
whether-
is
whether
how
we'll-
long it's going to take.
Whether we'll be able to bring back a final contract to you for approval, that timing is going to be somewhat driven by FTA designating us as a recipient of those dollars.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Maldonado?
Yes.
Councilman Williams? Yes. Councilman Roth?
Yes.
Councilman Burgess?
Yes.
Councilman Shelley? Vice Mayor Fairclough? Mayor Porter?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Oh, we didn't. Okay. It was unanimous.
You didn't start.
Any other comments, questions? Is there a motion to adjourn? Is there a second? All in favor? Give us about 5 minutes. We'll go into the committee of the whole.